Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Council Chambers on this beautiful June 8th. As you can see outside, it is sunny, and which is excellent considering the weather we've had for the last couple of weeks. And I have to just congratulate members of council. I think this council has been doing an excellent job in terms of community building and living the good life. Because when we got together earlier this weekend on Saturday, it was calling for rain, but when we all got together, the rain parted, the clouds moved away, and it was sunny. So congratulations to members of council. You guys are doing the right stuff, yes. And we've been blessed with that good weather. And today, just a perfect example, we're getting together as a team, and look outside. It's sunny and bright. So well done. Members of council, there is an agenda before you. Administration, anything to add to the agenda?
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing to add.
Okay. Deputy Mayor for the motion, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the Town Council adopt the June 8th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda as presented.
Call the question, all in favor? That is carried. All right, moving on with our agenda. Number 3 is the public input session. So this is the time that we allow residents, stakeholders, anybody that wants to bring up any issues, concerns, or just kind of talk to council on anything that's not on the current agenda. Administration, has anybody registered to speak?
Through Your Worship, no one has registered.
Okay, good. And I see we got a couple people in our gallery, especially a couple of interns. Would you like to come down and speak about your internship? How's it going? Okay. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to number 4. Number 4, we have presentations and delegations. We have one scheduled tonight, and the first presentation is in the Rural Development Network for the Stony Plain Affordable Housing Guidebook and Toolkit. Welcome to Chambers. There is a sign-up sheet, so if you can sign in there and introduce yourself to council. And if you have a PowerPoint, you just have to push the little circle disc there, and you should be ready to go.
Thank you. So thank you for having me this evening. My name is Melissa Fougere. I am the CEO and president of Rural Development Network. And tonight I have the opportunity to present on the Affordable Housing Guidebook and Toolkit that we did in partnership with the town of Stony Plain, the community development team, and the land planning team. So to get us started, the Rural Development Network is a nonprofit organization. We operate across the country. However, we are situated in Edmonton here in Alberta. And we took this project on over the winter. We started in the fall of 2025, and we just wrapped up here at the end of March. And so the purpose of the guide development was to create a resource that is user-friendly for the public, that's engaging, it's educational and informative. And it was really to illustrate the affordable housing development process in Stony Plain in collaboration with the town of Stony Plain, so that either investors, nonprofits, charities, faith-based organizations would have a place to start. So if we're to look at the guide as a whole, the guide is over 25 chapters of information, which is written in very plain language so that it's easy to access, understand, and actually use. We don't just want another guidebook that is put on the shelf and collects dust. We actually want people to be able to use it. There are 5 appendix sections within the book, and then in addition to the book, there is a toolkit that goes alongside of it that contains worksheets and an assessment tool. And the assessment tool is not so much on identifying the types of housing, but is the organization ready to actually take upon the build? And so the process that we undertook over the 6 months that we worked on this was really a research focus to start. So we did community focus groups, we did municipal engagement, we worked with actual developers and builders, and then we worked with housing operators within the community itself to hear what they needed this guide to look like. The secondary research that we did was more qualitative data analysis and really looked at it through a rural lens. We do work with all rural communities. And so what are we hearing across the country? What are we hearing across Alberta that is working? And so the guidebook really, when we looked at some of the key highlights in it, we looked at from project concept to organizational readiness. Really we hear a lot of times that the project finishes before it even begins because they'll secure funding, they'll secure the capital. However, they're not actually able to follow through with the rest of the steps or vice versa. So this book will allow them to do that. How to build your project team, who needs to be sitting around that table, what voices do you need to hear as you build it? What development incentives the municipality may have. For example, I understand currently that there is some reduction in fees that Stony Plain has temporarily on the table for permitting for different organizations and buildings. So that would be one of those development incentives. Ownership structures, what does that look like? Is it a co-op? Is it contract? Is it municipal owned? Is it an organization owned? Operating frameworks, how are you going to operate this once you build? Community participation, so community participation to hear and to kind of deter from some of the negativity that may come from new builds, whether it's infill lots or crowded, or some of the community members might talk about those things. So engaging them right from the beginning and hearing some of those concerns so that they can be addressed in the beginning. How to build a business case and really how to get those municipal approvals. And then following that is really looking at the feasibility analysis and the funding. So how viable is this project? Can we get this off the ground? Can we actually make this work for the community? Is there land available? Is the land at the right purchase price? Is it zoned properly? Does anything need to be adjusted? Pre-development capital and operating costs. How are you going to sustain this once it is built? Developing a project charter, a work plan, and really looking at the long-term sustainability of the housing. So how quickly can the rent pay off the loan or other income sources as you pay back that funding? And then we looked at project delivery. So what's that construction delivery look like? What do those timelines look like? How do we monitor that project? How are we meeting the milestones? Or how do we monitor the success or any of the gaps that may come? And then doing a successful project closure and launch of the new building. And then looking at operations management. And so, the cost planning, the maintenance, the operations and the maintenance, leasing, tenant relations. A lot of people, as they're building housing that aren't generally in the housing space, often may miss some of these steps. So it's really important that the town wanted to highlight, here's how we can walk you through this process step by step by step. And so in the appendices, we really highlighted, and this was in collaboration with the community development team, is what community organizations exist in Stony Plain? What are the funding resources in Alberta with the federal government that may be available to get funding or investments from private partners? Affordable housing legal templates, these are from the Stony Plain website and they are available, but they're linked directly in with this book. And then the design and functionality of the resources. And then we also included the key focus group takeaways. So what did we hear while we were doing the consultations with the partners around the table? And then we look at the toolkit. And so this is really to build that readiness. It's really to make sure that we can take the concept and see it through to the end. So we're really looking at the concept worksheet, the project brief worksheet, and the organizational readiness assessment so that it can be successful. There can be more housing, there can be more vacancy, they can attract more people into the community, it frees up the vacancy rate, it drives down some of the rental prices, and people want to come into Stony Plain, and in turn, the economic development increases. And so in some more of the template sections, we have the business case, project charters, requests for proposals, requests for qualification, and post-implementation review. And again, it really just walks through the organizations, step by step, how they need to do this, and some templates that they can just fill out. So this guide and toolkit is really for that plug and play. And then looking at, in conclusion, really the reasons why we did this is a community-informed resource for affordable housing development here in the town. And it's an opportunity to increase that affordable housing supply and build and grow that inventory of vacancy in the community. And that is a little bit about the guide and the toolkit.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation, and definitely affordability is top of mind for members of council in our community, so I think this will give us a nice little, another tool in our toolbox to kind of address some of those issues. Members of council, any questions for clarity and understanding? Okay, Councilor Petchko.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through to Melissa. Thank you for the presentation. Great presentation. As I read through it, a number of things that come to mind, but really what I'm looking for is, who is your key target audience for what you did for this report? Because there's a number of people that do already affordable housing that would probably understand this principle. This principle, to me, is a brand-new principle for somebody that's thinking about doing it. And so who would that target be?
Go ahead.
So the original target, when we were requested to take on this project, was really for those nonprofit organizations, those faith-based organizations, charities. I think as a result of building this and the structure that we built it in and the plain language, this guide is really anybody who is interested in developing housing can actually walk through the process and understand it more, and then in turn come to the town and ask those right questions they need before they actually go and purchase a piece of land and say, I'm now going to build a house here or a duplex here. So originally it was for those community-based organizations, but now it is actually written so that anybody can understand it.
Thank you. Any more questions for clear understanding? Okay. I don't see any hands, so I'll ask one question. In terms of, I think the toolkit's good. I think the guidebook will help, like as you mentioned, any developer that comes into the community that's looking to build a more affordable housing project. Through this project, did you have a chance to look at our land use bylaws and also our site levies? 'Cause those two things that we control as a council do impact the cost of land servicing, and then to the end, the cost to the homeowner.
The team would have taken that into consideration as they did the project, but there was no specifics mentioned in the guidebook itself on those, as we wanted to keep it as up to date as possible and without having to change the book frequently. Everything that's in the guidebook that is linked to any of the bylaws, the land use planning, any of the zoning, are linked directly to the Town of Stony Plain website. So as long as the website's up to date, they can link directly and get that information.
Thank you. And again, any more questions for clear understanding on the toolkit? Councillor Meyer, go ahead.
I'm working on a second one. Oh, sorry. If you could, maybe just give me an example of another community maybe that has used this guidebook successfully, and what that would kind of look like.
Okay, go
For
ahead.
sure, absolutely. So in 2020, RDN undertook what we called the Guide to Affordable Housing. So that won the CMHC Gold Roof Award in the first edition. The second edition, we actually just upgraded from the lessons that we learned by working with municipalities. There have been several municipalities that have downloaded this resource. That was our original template. This one specifically here was guided and developed for Stony Plain with the input of the Stony Plain team members here to make sure that it was relevant for your community. We also have an online training course that we offer that has been used by many across the country. I think now we're up over 130 people that have downloaded the course and taken the course. So I know in the north, we have had some specific examples where people have used it, it's been successful. And then the other thing with a guidebook is if it's missing something for that organization, they can tweak it and make it their own. It's really that step-by-step to make sure that they can follow a process so that they're not missing any major things along the way.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to try and, so last week, we received a report that you helped gather some statistics on for our poverty reduction. And I had some kind of harsh assessment of that, actually.
Okay.
Seeing this, I do have a better idea about what we're kind of doing.
Right.
So a question I would have, okay, now I know this is two different reports now, but maybe I should ask you, how familiar are you with our previous report for the poverty reduction, the numbers that you guys collected for it was a province-wide one?
The province-wide one, yes. I mean, we've
you're-
done some for specific municipalities, but we've also done the province-wide one. So I have a lot of numbers in my head, so I may not remember specific to Stony Plain.
Okay,
But
so-
I am familiar with it, yes.
That's okay. I don't think you'd necessarily, well, maybe. So, okay, so when I was looking through this, I'm going, okay, this sounds like things that, like, I'm sort of familiar with from some of our other things that we do in the town.
Yep.
And so I really appreciate Councillor Palechko's question, like, who's this aimed at?
Yep.
So in my head, I was looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, if you've provided sort of, you've kind of done a deep dive on some of our numbers, and now you've kind of done a deep dive with some of our community partners, and you've created this housing toolkit. I'm curious why you wouldn't be able to provide, like, hey, there's this particular, this would be a good fit for your community, or some kind of recommendations in that regard. Did that make sense?
It's a great question. I'm not sure that, like for us, when we take on the estimations, it was separate from this project, right? So we have high-level information, but the data being collected for that estimations was probably just before or alongside, so the specific details of the 2025 estimations was not available as we were working on this. There is an opportunity where we can provide specific recommendations based on putting the material together, but in the scope of the project for this was just the guide and the toolkit. I mean, could we do it? Absolutely, 100%. We have done recommendations like that in other communities. On our website, if you have a look, we have the Enabling Housing Choice Project. Enabling Housing Choice Project and the Enabling Housing Choice North Project, which were both really that deep dive into the data and looking at the types of housing that would be best suited for the population, the demographics, be it seniors, be it income related. And so there are different recommendations and assessments that we can do with communities moving forward. But these were run kind of parallel together, so they didn't have much of a crossover. Right. And so it was outside of scope, but it is doable with the data that we do have.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Any other quick questions for clarity and understanding? Okay. Just one question. In terms of your professional opinion, I think there's a couple different construction delivery models that was highlighted in the report. And, the way the economy is, definitely harder for individuals and smaller businesses to get engaged in the affordable housing market. But you had one there that says public-private partnerships. Currently, Town of Stony Plain does not have kind of a P3 project or housing corporation. Other municipalities do. We do have a kind of a seniors housing foundation that's been trying to evolve a little bit further into the different municipalities into more affordable housing. Do you see that as, in terms of your opinion, would it be beneficial for a municipality like Stony Plain, our size, to get into the housing market game?
I think it's something that we're seeing more and more just based on today's economic realities, right? And so, I wouldn't want to sway it one way or another, but I would say it would be great to review it, look at some of the options that are out there, because I think that it is definitely a viable model and feasible in some communities for sure. And the way funding is being allocated, I think when you're looking at those different models, getting the funding through provincial or federal looking at those options is always a bonus.
Thank you. I don't see more hands up. So, thank you for your time and the presentation on this. And definitely it was very insightful and valuable for members of our council and our administration staff and also our community. I think, like I said, affordability is at top of mind for members of council and our community. So anything that we can help with or anything that we can get more data on allows us to make better decisions here around the table. So please feel free to reach out to us if you see anything that's coming down through like a provincial landscape or federal lands that we might be able to take a part of or prepare ourselves for. We'll definitely appreciate that.
Amazing. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Right, moving on to number 5 of our agenda is the statutory public hearing. We have nothing scheduled tonight. So moving on to number 6, which is the adoption of council minutes. So we have the RCM of May 25th. So members of council, you have the opportunity to review them. I'll move over to any errors, omissions, comments on those. Nope. Councilor Pleshko for the motion, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The Town Council approve the May 25th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Okay. Any debate on that? Call the question. All in favor? Okay, that is carried. Move on to number 7, which is council boards committee minutes. We have 2, 7.1 and 7.2. 7.1 is the Tri-Municipal Leisure Center facility for March 12th and April 16th. And then 7.2 is the Stony Plain Library Board for April 15th. Any questions to the council member representatives? Councilor Loyens for the motion, please.
Town Council received the council board and committee minutes for information.
Okay. Any debate? Call the question. All in favor? Okay. That is carried. Moving on to number 8, which is bylaws. Today we have 1, which is the bylaw 2742. DEB/26, and that's for the recreational facility front end debenture borrow bylaw. Go ahead, administration.
Thank you and good evening, Your Worship and Council. Construction of the recreation facility began in 2024 and construction continues into 2026. To complete the construction of the project, debenture boring is required for the approved developer off-site levy portion. Council has authorized the construction of the recreation facility encompassing dry sports amenities and a 6-sheet curling facility with an estimated budget of $41.7 million. Project budget and funding sources were approved by council on April 22nd, 2024. Other revenue sources included debenture funded by taxation, $31.5 million, curling club, $4 million, developer offsite levies, $4.6 million, and a contribution of $1.6 million from Parkland County. This bylaw is to authorize the draw of the debenture required to fulfill the developer offsite levy portion. The recreation offsite levy balance as of May 2026 is $800,351. As such, a debenture is required to fund the remaining balance in the amount of $3.8 million. The debenture is funded through the collection of offsite levy fees. However, should levies not be collected, the town must continue to make the payments. The debenture of $3.8 million will increase total debt held by the town to $52 million. After taking into consideration all debenture bylaws approved by council but not drawn yet, this will total an additional $18.5 million. The MGA debt limit available will be $18.5 million or 21%, and against the town's internal debt limit, remaining will be $650,000 or 1%. Debenture borrow will be advertised as per the Municipal Government Act requirements, and second and third readings of this bylaw are scheduled to be presented to council on July 13th. Thank you. I'll now take any questions.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Members of council, any questions for clarity and understanding? Okay, Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation this evening. I do have a question about the limit available against the internal debt limit and the the MGA limits and our internal debt limit. My understanding, and please correct me if I misunderstood this, that limit fluctuates a little bit with municipal revenues. If we have an increase in municipal revenue due to growth in the community, we would see potentially an increase in the amount of debt available to us under the MGA and our internal limit. I'll start there just to make sure I'm on the right path, and then I do have a secondary question.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, that is correct. As defined by the Municipal Government Act, the revenue is calculated based on the last published audited financial statements, which were just presented to council in April 2026. And so the debt limit calculations are based on that revenue that was reported in that financial statement.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so at what point in the year would we see the aggregation of that increase in our debt limit? So, I know people are receiving their tax notices and that sort of thing. We're sort of a high point in terms of our financial processes, but at what point sort of in our fiscal year do we realize those increases in the debt limit available to the municipality?
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Anderson and all of council. So as defined by the Municipal Government Act, it is based, your debt limit revenue is based on the previous year's financial statements, so it doesn't actually increase throughout the year. So even if we have, as we do, an increased budget and projected revenues for 2026, that will hit for our debt limit in 2027.
Thank you for that. And just one additional question, if I may, Mr. Mayor. I asked a question a couple of weeks ago just related to any long-term debt that we have that may be coming off of the books that would free up some additional room in terms of the debt limit available to us. Just looking for an indication as to what the next debenture coming off our books will be and what and in what amount, I guess, is the secondary question there.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship, to you and Councillor Anderson and all of council. I don't have the specific debenture or amount with me this evening. That's something I can send forth, but I will refer council back to the corporate plan, page 51. The 2026 through 2028 corporate plan, page 51, there's a chart that depicts the debenture payments. We have quite a few draws coming through here, and then you could see that the chart evens out and starts dropping in 2038.
Thank you. And appreciate the reference to the corporate plan, and appreciate the kind of email there just highlighted.
Yeah, I think, Your Worship, too, maybe just a couple comments. As our manager of finance has indicated, the reports that are provided will always track to the financial statements of the previous year, and will refer to the debt limit and the revenues of that particular year-end financial statement. A couple other things to bear in mind, just as it relates to how does that number go up and down from time to time. As council was aware, I don't know the page number, but somewhere in our corporate plan, it'll indicate, the payments that we are making on existing debentures, which will also free up room, so to speak. There are times, there have been a few times since I've been here, where one of the debentures is paid off and it's zero balanced. But across the board, when we're making those payments in any given year, that's the debit that happens. Got the head nod from finance there that I used the right word. We'll be debiting those accounts, and it'll be going down that way as well.
Okay, thank you. Move through Councilor Niebergall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have kind of an education question for those in the audience and those watching, following along at home. Maybe administration can help clarify or just offer some information in terms of The off-site levies is what contributes to this. Where do those funds come from? And then the little caveat there of like, but if we don't have those off-site levy fees collected, the town pays for it. So if you can just clarify what that actually means.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship, through the council. I'll provide a bit of comments there, because I think there's a couple other terms in this particular report that don't necessarily show up too often in the presentations to council. I think I'll start with the offsites themselves. So typically, the town of Stony Plain, as a majority, if not all, communities in Alberta and across the country, frankly, will have some form of a development levy. And a development levy is, at its very basic form, a cost or an expense that is attached to the land, is due and payable prior to development taking place. And that can due and payable on small parcels of land up to quarter sections, all of it. The town of Stony Plain has levies in place for, I believe, help me out if I miss one, water, sanitary sewer, storm water collection. No storm water collection. And in this case, we're talking about recreation contributions. So what is essentially going on here is we are utilizing the revenues we get from a recreation levy to fund a portion of the recreation center. The rationale or the reason that there's a debenture borrow in front of council this evening is, as I think noted, to date, as we've had these levies on, we have brought in, I believe, around 800,000 is the number. As council sees, the amount that we are going to spend through those is 3.4, I believe, 3.8. So we are going out to borrow the money to make that payment as the construction costs come through on the recreation center. And then as the levies come in, we will pay that back. As noted, and I believe as part of the question, one of the, the question being what happens, so to speak, if those levies don't come in as fast or as soon as we want them to. The result there is that we would have to find another funding source, either internally or through the budget process, to offset those payments and allow that those levies to come in over time. I think I'll stop there, Your Worship, and just see if that is speaking to the question, or I'll stop there for now.
Thank you. Councilor Neagle, does that semi-answer that? Okay. I'll add to that, add to your question. So in terms of, based on our projections and the amount of kind of new phases that are getting approved, and staff will have kind of a better idea, what is the estimate time for the payback? Is it 10 years, 10-year cycle, 15-year cycle?
Thank you, through your worship, to you and all of council. So the offsite levy bylaw denotes the projects on the bylaw, and the catchment is 25 years. I can also just add a bit more context and answer the question that was asked previously.
Okay, go ahead.
So there was a question about specifically offsite levies and if they're not collected and the town has to pay. So what that means is cash-wise, so that would mean we would have to outlay cash that would be front-ended. However, the model does build in interest and we get our money back paid that way. So the model does compensate for any of that cash. The second question that was unanswered was, what is the next debenture coming off and when? And that will be the golf course maintenance compound in 2031, and that will be annual payments saved of $141,000. And to supplement the CAO's comment in regards to each year our debt limit goes up because we are paying down debt as well. On that same page of the corporate plan, page 51, it does denote that $3.3 million in principal is paid down each year annually, and the remaining payments are interest of about $3 million.
Thank you. Do you have an additional question? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to Councilor Pletchko.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through to administration. As I read through this, I'm just curious, our internal debt limit will be only $650,000. And I'm wondering, as we move forward, is there a need for that to come back to council this term or this year for possible change so that we can increase that?
Okay, go ahead, Administration.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Pletchko and all of council. On June 22nd, you will see me in the chambers again with a debenture policy update, and so we'll have those conversations on the 22nd. As the policy is written currently, it does state that council may exceed the internal debt limit as I wish. It doesn't have specifics around if that's a motion or if it's by passing a bylaw, so we can have that conversation on the 22nd and decide how that is best suited.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for bringing that up, Councilor Pletchko. So I think for education, as Councilor Niebuhr mentioned, there may be members that are watching that don't understand what the internal debt limit is. That's something that was part of our financial policy that council wanted to make sure that we had some room just in case the emergency came up, something that we need to take care of. So we passed the internal budget, which is 80% of what the MGA standard was, which is more like, for us as members of council, we looked at it as green light, yellow light, and red light. So once you can't go over the red light, so you got to stop. But that yellow light, that within our own 80% and the MGA's 100%, gives us a sober look at the projects within town council. Say, is this necessary for us to continue to do this project to further our community forward? And if the answer is yes, then we have the authority to go for it. But it also gave staff that sobering look to like, hey, we're bringing this forward, we have to have really good justification to recommend this. So I'm really glad to hear that's coming back forward on June 22nd. Thank you. Any other questions for clarity and understanding? Members of council? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just going to sort of back up, I had a chance to pull up the corporate plan. Certainly page 51 had some information, but I did jump ahead to page 79 of our 2026 through 28 corporate plan. And there's a great table here that outlines the long-term debt. And the bottom third of that table looks at future capital projects. And so heard the indication of June 22nd, pulling up our future sort of council topic list. I think there were two of these debentures that are on the future capital projects list to come then, with a third one August 24th, and then obviously the fourth one for 2026 is before us this evening. If all four of these projects are given the green light by council, or these debenture borrows, we're looking at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-ish million dollars. The four we're in discussion tonight puts us within 1% of that internal debt limit, which leaves the remaining 7.5 at, I think it was 52 million and change is sort of that internal limit. So we're gonna consider over the next few months adding an additional sort of 15% on top of that. I don't know if it's dollar for dollar and that will put us at 95% or not, I'm not sure, but I will look through you, Mr. Mayor, to administration. Should those four projects all go ahead to those debenture borrows, where will that put us in terms of our debt limit within the MGA and also within our internal debt limit? I could appreciate we'll be over and that conversation's to come, but how much over?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Anderson and all of council. The intent is to bring the policy back on the 22nd before we do reach that limit. The second step is we will have additional bylaws that will exceed our internal debt limit, should we still have one after that policy. And as for the amount, right now, we're still actually collecting levies daily based on development. And so we are currently doing the analysis on, number one, the project timing, because we don't want to draw too early. Number two, how much developer levy we have collected in those pools. So the four pools are roads, water, sewer, and recreation. And so based on those projects and the pool that they're designated to, we are working to see how much. So just like the debenture borrow today was reduced by the balance in that offset levy, we will be looking to do the same thing. Whereas in the corporate plan on that page that you mentioned, page 79, those included the full amount of the project.
Certainly appreciate that. And so a follow-up on that one then, certainly, the timing of these coming in, as noted, one today, two on the 22nd, so in a couple weeks' time, and then the fourth one not until August 24th. Will administration be able to speak to the impacts of the proposed August 24th debenture on the 22nd, or is that something that the impacts will be difficult to fully understand until the end of the summer?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Anderson and all of council. The two that were scheduled originally on the 22nd for bylaws, debenture bylaws, will not be coming on the 22nd due to project timing and need. So those have been shifted into the summer, so new dates to come. But on the 22nd, I absolutely will have that information.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just going to ask a question regarding page 81 of our corporate plan, as has been referenced a couple times. There has, under item number 7, has the debt limits. So I noticed the projected from December 31st of 2025 to December 31st of 2026, there's an increase of outstanding debt of $26 million. So those projects referenced by Councillor Anderson, are those projects included in the increase of the $26 million in debt?
Thank you, through your worship. That is correct, as well as a portion of the rec center debenture that wasn't pulled. We knew we weren't going to pull it until 2026, so that's where the difference comes in.
Okay, so thank you. So we're not going to go above what was projected already that we've suggested.
Thank you, your worship, no.
Okay, thank you. Members of council, any more questions of clarity and understanding? Okay. That's it. Thank you. Thank you for answering our questions and providing some clarity on the presentation. Councillor Niebergall, please, for the motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move the Town Council give first reading to bylaw 2742/DEB/26, a bylaw to authorize debenture borrowing in the amount of $3.8 million for the construction of the recreation facility.
Okay. Thank you. Members of council, any questions, comments, debate on the motion? Wait, I do have one, sorry. This is what happens when you have like little notes everywhere. I think I asked the question earlier in terms of what the payback was, and the answer was 25-year debenture borrow in terms of this 3.8. So my question to that is, as development happens, we can't really control the pace of it. Sometimes it's a little faster, sometimes it's a little bit slower. What if we get kind of an accelerated growth phase within our community, and we're able to generate enough offset levies within 10 years? Can we pay all that off after 10 years, or do we have to wait to 25?
Thank you, through your worship. First, just a point of clarity, the 25 years was the projected payback within the offset levy model for the project. And so we would, so the debenture borrow would be likely over 20, 25 years. The more years we take it over, the more interest right now. So if we took it, typically we take our debentures over 20 years, so we're still doing that evaluation before we actually do the official application after all 3 readings are done in the summer. There are options to pay off debentures early. The money would just go into the offset levy bucket, I guess you could say, or the account. And so when that's cash positive, it would also pay back that levy. And so it would offset the debenture interest as well. We can do an application for early payoff of debenture and get a quote in regards to how much would that cost, because typically there is a penalty on those.
Thank you. And for that said, we can put it into offset levy reserve and then maybe pay it off, but there's also a penalty. So in terms of our larger projects, definitely understand going to the government of Alberta for the debenture. But for smaller pockets like this, does it make sense to look at other avenues through the private sector. Like, I think we have a corporate business plan that we deal with, we have a bank that we deal with, is an opportunity like this that we may not need 25 years, but maybe have the same kind of terms, but allow us the ability to pay it out without having that penalty.
Thank you, through your worship. We do explore all of those avenues, and we do have some debentures that are through private financial institutions that do have different leverages.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Any more questions, comments, debate? Okay. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. We'll look forward to the public hearing. No, we don't have a public hearing, right? We just have second and third reading later on, right? Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on with our agenda number 9, which is business items. So number 9.1 we have today, which is the advocacy priorities for 2026. As members of council has been through this conversation many times, we need to advocate with our municipal partners, provincial partners, and federal partners to make sure that Stony Plain is well taken care of in terms of the amenities and services that we have. So looking forward to the report. Go ahead, administration, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening, our presentation for our advocacy plan, I've invited Sheridan Johansson here with us this evening. Sheridan is our municipal intern, and just by way of a bit of a background and introduction, Sheridan has been with us for almost a year now, which is incredible how time flies. We were approved under the Government of Alberta Municipal Internship Program, which the town has participated in for many years. And this internship is a year and a half in length, so she'll be with us through till the end of this year in that role. And so the opportunity to have an intern under the administrative stream participate in contributing to and learning about the various aspects of municipal services, and have an opportunity to engage in our community and work with our stakeholders has been an incredible process. And so when Sheridan was onboarded with us last July, very shortly after she began with us, there was an opportunity to meet with Minister of Municipal Affairs, Dan Williams, and of course the Government of Alberta internship program is led by Municipal Affairs. So it was an opportunity to for her to learn about firsthand about our advocacy work through the town of Stony Plain, but also for the Minister of Municipal Affairs to observe and meet with one of the interns that is part of their program. So it was a very opportunity. Since that time, Sheridan has been supporting our advocacy work here at the town and contributed and participated in various advocacy efforts, contributing to briefing notes, attending Alberta Municipalities Convention with us, and helping us to develop the plan and the priorities that you see before you this evening. So I'm really proud to have her present this evening, and it's an opportunity that the program encourages to have the interns present to council during their time with us. So I look forward to the opportunity to have her here with us this evening and share with you about our advocacy priorities.
Well, welcome to Council Chambers.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For your information this evening, I am sharing the recommended advocacy priorities for 2026. These priorities are drawn directly from the updated strategic plan that was approved by Council in March. We recognize there are a multitude of issues and opportunities the town seeks to address with other orders of government. Within the 2026-2029 strategic plan, Council has identified the commitments and actions that will guide Stony Plain towards our long-term vision. Many of those commitments and actions require the support, partnership, and investment of the other orders of government. Through the ongoing and thoughtful advocacy efforts of Council and administration, positive impacts can be achieved for Stony Plain. To begin, we define advocacy as a process to influence the actions and decisions of external audiences to benefit the needs of Stony Plain. The town's primary audience are other orders of government, federal, provincial, and other municipalities. The town's role in advocacy is to support a prosperous future for Stony Plain by effectively communicating the needs of community and garnering the support of partners, stakeholders, and particularly the other orders of government. These three overarching advocacy approaches help us to understand what success looks like. These can be both tangible and intangible. First, we can identify successful advocacy when there is mutual agreement about a shared opportunity. Our second approach is less tangible and is built on relationships that are forged with decision makers. An example would be when a decision maker seeks out input from the town on a policy or visits Stony Plain to explore and understand an opportunity. And finally, our third approach can be understood as successful when there is support, often in the form of funding of a project, program, or service. We guide our advocacy efforts with a plan, providing focus and clarity of roles and tactics built around each of the priorities. 5 advocacy priorities have emerged from the recently approved strategic plan and are built on the previous actions of Council. Looking at how we define our priorities when seeking support from stakeholders and other orders of government, they are summarized in the following statements. Funding and partnership to build a community recreation facility in Stony Plain. Transportation infrastructure investment to support business and community growth. Healthcare and education investment to meet our growing community needs. Funding and partnership to build affordable housing. And partnership and support to enhance community belonging and public safety. Building awareness for these priorities and generating support for them will help us to move Stony Plain forward. These priorities are also important to the future of our region, the province, and the country. I will next offer some additional context into each of these priorities. A Stony Plain community recreation facility continues to be a need for current and future residents. We are on schedule to complete the construction and begin operations for Phase 1 on the new recreation facility later this year. We know the journey to fully establishing next phases of facility will unfold over a number of years. Sharing and inviting partners to contribute funding and support for future aquatics and ice facilities will allow for broader benefits and impacts in an accelerated timeframe. Next, infrastructure that is built to accommodate growing communities like Stony Plain creates broader benefits. Investment and partnership to build and maintain critical transportation infrastructure unlocks access for consumers, supply chains, and investors. Stony Plain's corridors can be leveraged with commitment and investment from developers and government. The town needs to continue to profile transportation investment opportunities and pursue partnership. Health and education provincial services directly impact Stony Plain's quality of place and ability to continue to grow and welcome new residents. There are 2 needs for investment that the town will continue to action within the scope of this priority. The first being the need for provincial investment in the existing facilities and services of Westview Health Centre to ensure local healthcare can continue to be responsive of Stony Plain and regional residents. The second is around the ongoing planning for a future permanent K-12 Francophone school. The province has provided planning funding for the school in 2026. However, the budget commitment to construct the school has yet to be decided. Next, the priority to build affordable housing to accommodate and support growth for Stony Plain. The federal and provincial government have developed and collaborated on housing strategy and funding programs to support housing construction. Local affordable housing providers are also seeking to meet the demands of residents. The town will continue to profile opportunities and provide a path for affordable housing options in Stony Plain by leveraging these partnerships. The final priority defines the importance of fostering a sense of community belonging and public safety. This priority is grounded in the philosophy that we all have a role and responsibility in caring for our most important asset, people. We have a number of services and programs that have a strong foundation and support from various levels of government. Continuing to identify and guide how resources can best support the needs of the community with policing, family and community support services, and housing development programs will ensure we are caring for all residents of Stony Plain. Now that I've shared what the advocacy priorities will be focused on achieving, I want to touch on how the town will action our efforts. I'd like to draw your attention to the graphic on the screen, which highlights the process and key points of how we achieve advocacy. Currently, we are in the first step of goal setting and strategy development. As we move forward, we will gather information and monitor opportunities for engagement, develop key messaging, seek opportunities for coalition development, and engage in targeted outreach. Utilizing this process helps us to ensure we are responsive and effective in our advocacy efforts. Looking to next steps, administration will continue to support council in implementing these priorities at opportunities that influence potential support or decision-making. The advocacy plan will be implemented and has identified target audiences and key timing for delivery of messaging. Additionally, we will utilize opportunities such as this to create an information loop with the public and local partners. As we look to this time next year, we will evaluate and recommend any revision to ensure our advocacy efforts are relevant to the needs of Stony Plain. Thank you, Your Worship and members of Council, for your time, contribution, and consideration in developing the advocacy priorities. I would also like to thank the General Manager of Strategic Services and the Town Manager for their support and guidance in creating this. At this time, we ask Council to consider accepting the advocacy priorities and would welcome any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you for your presentation, and that was well done for your presentation to the Council. And members of Council, any questions for clarity and understanding? Well, let's ask you the hard question. You mentioned and you had a really great presentation. What if Council decided not to agree with these priorities that came from our strategic plan? What would happen then?
Thank you, Your Worship, to you and all members of Council. Of course, this is an opportunity for Council to share and provide us with feedback and direction as best you see fit. We have provided an opportunity leading up to this workshop that we hosted with Council to speak specifically about identifying priorities within the strategic plan and have worked to develop and refine the messaging, not only based on the strategic plan, but also on the work of our previous advocacy plan that has been brought forward this evening. So certainly would welcome Council's perspective and direction if we need to improve and address and adjust accordingly.
Okay, thank you for the answer. That was well put. Councillor Niebergall?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think I'm going to have a much easier question, so maybe Sheridan, you can answer this. On page 152 of our agenda package, it is the outline of the priorities. You all know how I am a stickler for this, so I'm wondering if there's any hierarchy to these, or are they presented in a specific way? Can you speak to that, please, and thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, or through Your Worship to Councillor Niebergall. I don't believe there is a hierarchy in presentation. I think they all are presented of equal weight and of opportunity when they arise. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you. Any other questions, comments from the presentation? No? Okay. See none. Well done. I'm glad that I think it was mentioned that you've almost been here for a year. So would you like to provide some recollections of how your year's been? Who was the favorite staff member to work with, and maybe who was the most annoying staff member to work with?
Thank you, Your Worship. My year has been eventful and full of various learnings, jumping around business units and going to unique opportunities, like the meeting with the Honorable Dan Williams was quite a highlight, and attending our advocacy and conferences have been very insightful, I think, to the current standing and how we actually action our advocacy items. So I have very much enjoyed that. And I just think the town is full of learning, and there's so much more to do in the next time that I'm here till December. So I've just been really grateful for all of the opportunities I've been presented. And Brenda has been incredibly supportful in helping me advocate and get more projects to learn on.
Thank you. So who is your not least favorite person? Yeah, you're not least favorite. We will just leave that there. Thank you. Okay, I don't see any more hands up. So Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and before we make the motion, thank you for being here and nailed your first presentation. I sort of whispered to the side here, your answers were succinct, but like right on, I think, what they needed to be, and that's fantastic. Sometimes I use my word limit, and I'm doing it again, so we appreciate the word limit, your participation this evening, and your contributions to our community, so thank you for that. I will, oh, you gave me the long one. Let's see what's going on here. Move that town council accept the advocacy priorities 2026 for information. Funding and partnership to build a community recreation facility in Stony Plain. Transportation infrastructure investment to support business and community growth. Healthcare and education investment to meet our growing community needs. Funding and partnership to build affordable housing, and partnership and support to enhance community belonging and public safety. And I almost didn't have enough words left in my limit to read your motion, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I knew that you had enough lung capacity to complete it. Members of council, any questions, comments, and debate on the motion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Sorry, I think I missed the wording of this just because I was so proud of you, Sheridan, and I just wanted to talk to you. Our first priority, it says funding and partnership to build a community recreation facility. I'm pretty sure I traveled through one just last week. So do we need to tweak that?
Yeah,
Something.
we didn't build it. We had to slice it into pieces to build it, so I believe it refers to phase 2 and 3.
Should it say that? I get her point.
Well, it doesn't.
Okay. Carry on, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions, comments? Nope. Okay, on behalf of council, before I call the question, thank you for this. And to those that are kind of watching and maybe listening, and why does the council only have so few priorities? Is because we're focused. Definitely, if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. And we need to know where our staff and council has to put our effort in terms of advocacy and working with our regional partners. That being said, if something does come up and it requires the attention of staff and council, we're definitely there to do that and address those issues that when they do come up. But in terms of going forward into letting our neighbors and partners, especially the provincial government and federal government, where we need some of that help in terms of funding, these are the big ticket items that we're looking for. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, and that is carried. Move on to 9.2. This is the Rural Development Network, Stony Plain Affordable Housing Guidebook and Toolkit. Go ahead, administration.
Thank you, Your Worship, to you and all of council. So you've had the opportunity to hear from the Rural Development Network about the Affordable Housing Toolkit and Guidebook this evening. One of the reasons that we proposed this as administration under the Housing Accelerator Fund is to support readiness for development in Stony Plain as needed. The work on this project fell within our community and social development poverty reduction portfolio. And the intent as we go forward today is to have it posted on the website, to be able to share it with community partners, and to speak about it when we're talking about what affordable housing could look like in Stony Plain. So I know you've had the chance to ask the consultant questions, but I would be open to answering questions should you have any as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members of council, questions for clear and understanding just from that? Okay. Councillor Meyer, go ahead.
So maybe I just start with the same question I asked the Rural Development Network presenter. Having now looked at our poverty reduction strategy and having this toolkit for us, is there a particular model that administration would recommend?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Meyer and the rest of Council. At this point, no, we're not recommending a specific model. What we are doing is we're having the toolkit available to have conversations with. Our belief is that the model would fit with what an organization wants to propose, depending on perhaps the client group that they're working with, the ideas and approaches that they want to undertake, and we would work with them to understand those priorities. So no particular model, aside from those that are already included within our housing strategies.
Okay. Councillor Meyer, go ahead.
Just to follow up on that one, so it sounds like you're going to go and have some conversations. I would be curious what feedback council would expect to see from those, or would we kind of just, if there was a project available, or...
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Meyer and the rest of Council. So what we would do is we would report back through the quarterly planning process, and then depending on projects and the stages that they move through, you may see things coming through in development reports, in business licensing or occupancy permits, statistics and things like that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Any more questions for clarity and understanding? Okay. Just a quick question. It was mentioned that we'll definitely hear this report and toolkit is to help and support the community to be ready. So in terms of the toolkit being uploaded to the website, in terms of access, I think during the presentation there was some mention about CHMC. So do we have the connections to direct interested builders and people that are interested in property in Stony Plain to connect with the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation to address some of those affordable grants to build faster and quicker?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the connections on the website will be live connections connected to their own internet pages, of course. And then the softer, more friendly, warmer side through connections that our staff make. If it's needed or warranted and an organization wants to. In the past, we have met with federal bodies, other housing corporations in order to provide some warm information, kind of a warm introduction. So yes, but I wouldn't say it would be a very formal sense that they need to go through the municipality in order to do the assessment themselves or make other decisions for their organization. As the consultant mentioned, the toolkit is intended in part to help organizations understand what information they need and what their own readiness and perhaps their own capacity might be to move ahead with a project of this nature.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Okay. See none. Councillor Meyer for the motion, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The Town Council accept the Stony Plain Affordable Housing Guidebook and Toolkit for information.
Thank you. Members of Council, any questions, comments, and debate on the motion? See none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. All right, moving on to 9.3 of our agenda, and this is the Engaging Youth Strategy Update. And whenever you're ready, go ahead, Laura.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Lara Stadnick, and I'm the Community Development Officer for Youth Engagement. Tonight, I'll share an update on the Engaging Youth Strategy, including the key priorities, highlights from the first year, and where we're headed next as we continue building opportunities for youth to feel connected, supported, and engaged in Stony Plain. Youth engagement has been a long-standing priority in Stony Plain, with youth programming beginning in the 1990s as the community recognized the importance of creating dedicated opportunities and supports for young people. This commitment continued with the opening of the Youth Center in 2004, creating a dedicated space for youth connection, recreation, and support. As the community continues to grow toward a population of 30,000, the Engaging Youth Strategy was launched in fall of 2025 as a flexible 3-year plan to guide the next phase of youth engagement and development. Grounded in the Developmental Assets Framework, the strategy focuses on strengthening connection, building skills, and creating meaningful opportunities for participation and leadership. It was shaped through youth voice, research, and best practices to ensure programs and services remain responsive, accessible, and relevant. Over the last year, we've continued evolving beyond a single drop-in model toward a more balanced approach that includes registered programs, outreach, youth-led initiatives, leadership opportunities, and ongoing access to supports and referrals. The strategy is guided by 3 interconnected focus areas: belonging, empowerment, and leadership. Belonging is about creating safe, inclusive spaces where youth feel welcomed, valued, and connected. Key actions include creating spaces for connection and self-expression, increasing access and awareness of mental health and wellness supports, strengthening community partnerships and referrals, and expanding knowledge and understanding of youth development. Empowerment is about supporting youth to build confidence, skills, and independence. Key actions include employment readiness and skill-building opportunities, reducing barriers to participation, providing hands-on learning and volunteer experiences, and supporting youth voice and choice in programming. Leadership is about creating opportunities for youth to lead, contribute, and influence their community. Key actions include expanding youth-led initiatives, increasing civic engagement and volunteerism, building mentorship and leadership pathways, and supporting authentic youth participation in decision-making. Together, these pillars create multiple pathways for youth to connect, grow, and contribute in meaningful ways that are relevant to them. As we approach the first year of implementation, we've already seen strong participation and growth across programs, events, and leadership opportunities. We had 1,318 total participants engaged throughout 2025 during 102 total programs and events. This includes school engagement with the Community Helpers Program. The 2025 Stony Plain Youth Events team contributed 545 volunteer hours collectively over their event season running May through October. We're also seeing strong momentum moving into 2026. The events team has grown from 7 youth in 2025 to 15 youth in 2026, including 5 returning participants stepping into mentorship and leadership roles. This slide really highlights the heart of the work, what youth engagement looks like in practice, and how these priorities show up in meaningful ways throughout the community. At the core of this work is creating opportunities for youth to connect, build confidence, explore interests, develop skills, and feel valued as part of the community. We know that youth engagement looks different for everyone, so the goal is to create multiple pathways for participation that meet youth where they're at. That can look like social and recreational programs, leadership opportunities, employment skill building, wellness supports, creative expression, volunteerism, or simply creating safe spaces where youth feel welcomed and supported. Programs like Dungeons and Dragons provide more than fun. They help youth build communication, teamwork, problem solving, and social connection in a supportive environment. Instrumental Health blends music, creativity, and mental health informed practices to support emotional regulation, stress reduction, and self-expression. Art programs led by local artists create opportunities for creativity, confidence building, and connection. Programs like Job Readiness and the events team give youth opportunities to gain practical experience, build transferable skills, and increase confidence. Through hands-on event work, youth learn teamwork, responsibility, customer service, communication, and leadership while contributing directly to community events. What's been especially meaningful is seeing returning youth step into mentorship roles and begin supporting newer participants. Leadership development continues through the Stony Plain Youth Leadership Team, where youth are actively involved in planning initiatives, collaborating with municipal departments, participating in community conversations, and leading projects that address real barriers affecting youth. Their transit initiative is a great example of this, where youth engaged with other young people, identified challenges, learned about local systems, and are now creating resources to help other youth feel more confident accessing transportation. Community-wide events also play a major role in helping youth feel connected and included beyond youth-specific spaces. Events like Midsummer Thursdays, Outdoor Movie Night, Gather and Grow Day, Nourishing Connections, and Healing Our Home Fire create opportunities for youth to participate alongside the broader community, strengthen relationships, and see themselves reflected as valued contributors. Another important piece of this work is support and navigation. Tools like the Youth Wellness Wheel help youth identify needs, reflect on areas of wellness, and connect with appropriate resources and supports. Partnerships with organizations like Westview Primary Care Network and Kickstand Spruce Grove strengthen access to services and help ensure youth can connect to additional supports when needed. What ties all of this together is the focus on relationship building, belonging, and youth voice. Many of these programs overlap across the focus areas of belonging, empowerment, and leadership because youth development doesn't happen in isolation. A young person might first attend a social program to make friends, later volunteer at an event, and eventually move into leadership or mentorship opportunities. This work is really about creating environments where youth feel safe to participate, supported to grow, and empowered to contribute in meaningful ways. It's also important to recognize the contributions of organizations, community members, and our many partners who play a pivotal role in supporting youth engagement in Stony Plain. Whether it's opportunities for the events team to show their skills, financial donations offsetting the cost of programs, or collaborations that expand what's possible, it really is community effort that leads strong youth engagement and builds that culture of belonging. As we move into the next phase of the Engaging Youth Strategy, the focus will continue to be on growth, refinement, and strengthening opportunities for youth connection, leadership, and participation across the community. A key priority moving forward is ensuring that the strategy continues to evolve in response to youth voice, emerging needs, and feedback. To support this, we will continue reviewing participation trends, program outcomes, and engagement data through regular reviews, while also completing the developmental assets profile again in 2027 to help measure impact and identify future areas of focus. We also want to continue strengthening leadership development and youth engagement across the community by expanding mentorship and training opportunities for youth, as well as supporting organizations, businesses, and community partners through Youth Champions training and practical engagement resources. By building community capacity and equipping partners with youth-friendly tools and approaches, we hope to create more welcoming, inclusive spaces where young people feel supported, connected, and empowered to participate. Volunteerism and recognition will also remain an important focus. As youth continue contributing meaningful time and leadership throughout the community, we're exploring opportunities such as a youth volunteer recognition event to celebrate their contributions, highlight their achievements, and reinforce the value of youth leadership and community involvement. Overall, the next phase of the strategy is focused on continuing to build strong relationships, expanding opportunities, strengthening partnerships, and refining the work to ensure youth remain connected, supported, and meaningfully engaged in Stony Plain. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you for the presentation, and definitely a lot of information there, and definitely appreciate to see what the youth are doing in our community. Members of council, questions and comments for clear and understanding? Councilor Loynes, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted to get my numbers right. Sorry, you said in 2025 you had 7 youth leaders, and 2026 you're looking at 15 with 5 of those original 7 returning? Yes? Okay. What was, again, great numbers for return. Curious why the other 2 didn't return, and if there was any type of follow-up with them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, through your worship to Councillor Loynes and all of council. The program itself runs from February, March until November. And so for some of the returning youth, that's just a really long commitment.
Awesome. No, appreciate that. And then if I can, Your Worship?
Okay, go ahead.
You talked about having 1,300, we're just going to round down this time, participants in the 102 programs. I'm obviously assuming that's not 1,300 new individuals or unique individuals. But of those 1,300, how many of them were first-time participants in our youth center activities?
Go ahead.
Through your worship to Councillor Loynes and all of council, I'd have to really dive into all of our registration systems to figure that out. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Niebergall?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to administration, I am wondering about what is defined as a developmental asset. When I was reading through there, I cannot find a definition of that. And additionally, what is the developmental assets profile? What is that? That will come in 2027.
Okay, go ahead.
Through your worship to Councillor Niebergall and the rest of council. So the developmental assets were developed through the Search Institute, and so we leveraged that information. They're one of the leading researchers on adolescent development. And so they have a list of 40 developmental assets, both internal and external, and we do have it available on the website, but I can send an email as well with further information, as well as a link to the developmental assets profile that was launched or released last year.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Any more questions for clear understanding? Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation this evening. As a 2 decades-long youth worker, this is one that I always get excited about, but also leads to lots of questions. So I appreciate you being here this evening. I certainly appreciate Councillor Loynes' question around unique touch points. And that's something I know as council we've wondered about and, dare I say, have been concerned about, that our interactions, I can speak for myself, with the youth center tend to be a very similar 15 to 20 individuals that attend regularly and so on, and I think that's important. Please hear that. I do believe that that's important, that youth have a third space just like everybody else does in our community. But it is an important wonder that we would like to have an understanding of how many unique individuals or what that outreach looks like with individuals coming into our programs. And so Councillor Loynes asked my first question, but I will follow that up with a secondary question related to the number of registrants, 18. Are these all specific to Town of Stony Plain run programs, or would that number include programs run by some of our community partners as well, whether that's a partnership with APFA or the Stony Plain Public Library or otherwise, or are these Town of Stony Plain youth worker touch points that have reached that 1,300 number?
Okay, go ahead.
Through your worship to Councillor Anderson and all of council, it would be touch points for Town of Stony Plain staff for sure. It could be partnership programs though, absolutely. We've worked with Alberta Parenting for the Future, Native Counseling Services. We spent a lot of time with the library last year, and those numbers did include some touch points within the school systems as well through the Community Helpers Program.
I appreciate that, and that gives greater context to that number. When I pulled up some of our census data, even bumping it up based on population growth, that would be looking at 50% of youth in our community if that's what was represented there. I am going to look at page 183 of our agenda package. Was quite excited to see a list of community partners. I'm happy to see that there's some corporate support here, it looks like, as well as some community service organizations. Would like to ask Mr. Mayor, through you to administration, what constitutes a community partner? So how would someone end up on this list here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through your worship to Councillor Anderson and all of council, this is by no means an exhaustive list. This would be folks who have donated funds towards programming or services, or that we've worked with fairly consistently throughout that time. But yes, by no means an exhaustive list at all.
Okay, and I do appreciate that. Certainly appreciate seeing, again, some of the corporate and service agency support, but was surprised that we didn't see any specific youth-focused organizations on there. And there are many of them within our own community, sort of just even as we were sitting here jotting down a list, and I have about a dozen groups that work specifically with youth that I would hope that at some point, if not already, would be community partners. I am going to back up here to, oh boy, 175, sorry, key activities. And going to zero in the development asset profile. Councillor Nieberl, you weren't present the first time this came through, but this is actually a program I worked with at length and would be happy to talk with you about the asset profile at some point if that's of interest for you, but I know staff will provide some great resources as well. When this first came through to council, one of the concerns that I had for myself was what appeared to be limitations in the reach that we exercised and the number of participants that engaged in that profile. And, you know, if we sort of read through what we have in front of us in this report, belonging tends to stand out as a foundation of youth engagement, and we know that to be true. And I would suggest that us as a municipality just, you know, cold approaching youth may not be our best approach to soliciting the type of feedback that we're looking for here, specific to the developmental assets that can be a very, very personal piece. And so I think there's sort of an opportunity here with the previous question around community partners to really leverage the relationships that exist in our community between service providers and youth. And so my question related to this one here, Mr. Mayor, to administration, is how do we in 2027, I know it's a little bit away, but maximize our reach to ensure that we're gaining a broad perspective of youth in our community from different areas, different ages, different communities, and so on. How do we ensure that we're able to expand our reach and maximize that in a meaningful way in these future engagements?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through your worship to Councillor Anderson and all of council, we'll be beginning engagement with community partners earlier and hoping to get more buy-in as we go in. And now that we've done the assets profile once, there's better understanding as to what that means, and it gives us a little bit more information that we can provide contextually for some of the partners who are less familiar with the Search Institute.
And just one final question, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Certainly appreciate what we have. One of the challenges as a former youth worker that I have when I look at some of our strategies is they're very information-based, which is good, but we don't always see the direct action being flushed out. And so we've heard some comments this evening about youth engagement in terms of planning specific youth events and so on. But when we dig into the key activities, a lot of it is based around the asset profile, around engaging youth to complete some form of an asset profile, and then how we analyze that data in terms of developing a more robust strategy moving into the future. But we're looking, you know, a couple of years forward. And so, Mr. Mayor, I'd be looking to hear from administration, if I may, about some of the tangible activities, the tangible opportunities that youth have in our community to engage with youth staff, youth organizations, and so on. We had APFA here a week ago. They had a number of youth that came in and presented and their desire for specifically a climbing facility. But I think the nature of their comments were around this need to touch grass with other youth and being a part of something more. And so, Mr. Mayor, that's a bit of a preamble, but what can youth expect as this strategy develops in terms of tangible opportunities to engage with our community?
Okay, go ahead.
Through your worship to Councillor Anderson and all of council, I think youth can continue to expect to see more programs and events like they've seen thus far. They're constantly kind of being reevaluated and monitored to see what's of interest. We're also looking at kind of continuing to see what gaps exist. So thinking of how I mentioned earlier, the youth recognition event, because there is a lot of opportunities already where youth are actively involved, whether it's with us as the town of Stony Plain or other service organizations in Stony Plain. And so recognizing the contributions and the things that are already happening is important. And then continuing to assess and see what they're interested in and what they're looking for. And so we meet regularly with different service organizations, with different groups that are in Stony Plain as well. So kind of.
Thank you. And your worship, if I may add to that, through you to Councillor Anderson and the rest of council. So a key part of this strategy and this engagement process was to help us move outside the four walls of the youth centre, as it has been known in the past. And so the engagement that's taken place with organizations to strengthen the work that our youth team can do has taken place over the last year. One of those key activities was the development of a youth leadership approach that also involves helping the adults who work with youth to understand better ways to engage with them and to understand what that respectful engagement looks like. And so that was a project that we worked on very closely with Volunteer Alberta. The first rollout of that program took place last fall, where adults who work with youth and adults who are part of youth-serving organizations undertook the training. Youth also took the training in order to be better advocates for themselves about how they want to engage in workplace activities, programming activities, and volunteer activities. That program will be used again this fall in order to build up those skill sets. The list of partners shared certainly ties into those who have provided direct funding or some direct volunteer experiences for youth. But I think there's, a very robust interest in Stony Plain and with organizations in order to increase their skill sets and capacity. So while we track the number of youth that attend programs and services, the broader reach under a youth engagement strategy is to look for ways to expand that reach and to expand those touch points through our contacts with other organizations and moving beyond the youth who might walk through the door at the youth center and finding other ways that we can connect with them and exploring directly with youth through the youth-led component about how they see themselves wanting to be connected with the community and how they would work to engage their peer group in activities within the municipality.
And thank you for both responses there. I think you both spoke to sort of the last piece that I wanted to bring forward, and that was the idea, again, full circle back to unique touch points that Councillor Loyens had brought forward. Appreciate the engagement, appreciate the capacity building, but if we're engaging in capacity building with the same 20, 30, 40 individuals. I think that's important for those 20, 30, 40 individuals, but the feedback that we're going to receive becomes a bit of an echo chamber where we're asking the same youth the same questions and receiving similar feedback. And so I look forward to future iterations and updates on this plan based on some of what's been shared with us this evening around increased engagement with unique individuals and partner organizations and so on, to ensure that this is a robust strategy that I believe the general manager stated expands beyond or extends beyond the four walls of the youth center, because we know in this day and age that some youth might come find us, but in many ways we need to reach out and engage with them as well. And so I look forward to seeing where this goes in the coming years. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Any more questions for clear understanding from members of council? No? Okay. Just a question. I think the youth planned and executed the Youth Day last year, and it was well done. Is it still in the works this year for the youth to plan a Youth Day?
Through your worship to all of council, yes. Yes, we have, our youth leadership team is actively planning Youth Day and among other initiatives. So they have just wrapped up filming on their transit initiative, and they do plan other kind of community events as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's awesome to hear. I think when the invite comes, I think any member of council that's available will be there, because I think there you can see from the conversations throughout the years, this council is supportive of the youth in the community. Okay. Seeing no more hands up, so we'll move on to Deputy Mayor, Councilor Laurie, for the motion, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the town council accept the engaging youth strategy update for information.
Yeah. Thank you. Members of council, any questions, comments, and debate on the motion? See none, call the question. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. All right, members of council, that ends our business items. So moving on to number 10 is council discussion. So this is the time that members of council can highlight anything that's happening in our community, anything that's been brought forward by residents or stakeholders, and what's happening in your committees, and different things that you may want to share with members of council. Councilor Meyer, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Choi. Just highlight an opportunity that myself and a couple other councillors had to tour the rec center under construction. Boy, that is looking really good. I think Spruce Grove curlers are going to be pretty jealous. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, Farmers Days, weekends, events. It was a pleasure serving pancakes. As I know all my other councillors enjoy that very much, as well as the parade. I was sitting on the back of the float waving my flag, but I did poll Councillor Palechko earlier this evening. He said, well received the 40-kilometer float to the people that he was handing out candy to, so that affirms what I've heard, so I'm not gonna ask anybody else what they heard. Anyhow, so that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly like to take this time to express some gratitude. Often that extends outwards, but today I'd like to extend that laterally. We'll speak, to Councillor Meyer's point about the parade. There were some key individuals on our council that gave up garage space, if you will. Councillor Palechko has hosted us in his garage a number of years to decorate floats. Councillor Loynes this year put together some great T-shirts. Other members of council were together to decorate, and unfortunately I wasn't able to make the parade itself, but no, we were well represented by my colleagues in attendance. And so please know, colleagues, that my gratitude extends to you as well, and this is just another example of the work that you do to support our community. I'm grateful for that.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Niebuckle.
Thank you, Worship. Not too much to add other than echoing what I've heard, but I do want to extend, as it was my first Farmers' Days on this side of the experience, I was very impressed and very thankful to administration and their families that came out to bright and early to make sure that we were set up and very prepared to cook all of our pancakes and sausages for the community members that came out. I think I've said, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 times today at my day work that I had so much fun, specifically cooking that morning with everybody. It was just such a community feel there. The parade was fun, absolutely, and engaging with the kids along the route, and I as well heard many thank yous to the lowering of the speed limit. But there was a very unique feel about that breakfast, and I think it's about that, like breaking bread together, et cetera, and maybe the ribbing and doing a much better job than Parkland County at cooking pancakes, but I digress. I just really appreciate administration and their families that came out to help us, as well as council here, your families and kids and significant others that came out to support that. So I very much appreciate being a part of this team.
Thank you, Councilor Neville. Councilor Loyens?
Thank you, Your Worship. Farmers' Day has been mentioned, so once again, that's always great to have. I wanted to mention that I had the opportunity to attend the FCM conference this weekend as well. It feels like I haven't slept yet, just been going. But thank you, Your Worship, for that opportunity. It's truly always wonderful to work on that advocacy that our strategic services does so well at putting together for us, as mentioned earlier. And meeting with municipalities across Canada and realizing that we all face the same problems no matter where we're located. Couple things I wanted to make note of, seeing as we're not meeting again until the 22nd, which seems so far away at this moment. It is the disc golf course is having their grand opening on the 14th at 2 p.m., as well as Midsummer Thursdays and summer sessions all start next week on the 17th and 18th. And happy Father's Day to all those fathers in whatever capacity it looks like to you on June 21st. And that is all for me.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Councilor Plechko.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. Everybody else has thanked everybody around here. I just want to talk a little bit about Farmers' Day. Had a chance to have a bit of a conversation with a kinsman. Friday night was pretty good at the beer tent, and we had a pretty good crowd that turned up there. Saturday was phenomenal. The sun shone, and everybody from our community, the community surrounding us, and the communities surrounding them came and participated in it. So I'm hoping that overall the weekend was a very good success for the Kinsmen. It's disappointing that they had to cancel the rodeo, but there was lots of positive talk about what can be done in the future to maybe not have that happen. So I think that's one of the things that we can look forward to is some of the discussion with some of the regions out here that might be able to put something together that would maybe help to keep that rodeo going and a number of things. So I think that's one of the positive things. To all of you in council, great day at the parade, great day prior to making that float work. Some great ideas. And, we always go into that wondering what the response is going to be, especially when we change the speed limit in town. But, as Councillor Myers said, I talked to a few people on the street and, reminded them that 36 is probably the average speed in the areas, that 40 really isn't a big deal, and had some really great response. Not one individual was concerned about what it was. I did have a few going, is that 779? And I went, nope, 779, we'll get to stay at 50. But it was a great conversation to have that day. Got my exercise very well. I went from one end of the parade to the other, I think, a few times, running back and forth. So I learned that my age, I need to run a little bit more because at the end I was a little bit out of breath. So it was a great time. So thanks to everybody. But I want to say a special thanks to the team that put that breakfast on. they come out in the morning, we got there at 6 o'clock, and there was a bit of chaos that was going on, and they responded phenomenally. They put together that breakfast in a short period of time, and those that had pancakes to begin with that didn't quite get the sausage were able to come back and have the sausage. So great job to our administration and all those that participated. And again, a thank you to all the volunteers that come out to participate in that breakfast and entertain the people while we were going through some of that stuff. So a great ton of gratitude, as Councillor Anderson always says, to those that put that breakfast on, and then those that got us through the parade. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Councilor Palechico. Deputy Mayor, Councilor Lowry, go ahead.
Nothing this evening, Your Worship.
Okay. Yeah, and just for me, just want to echo that, and then thank you to all the volunteers and sponsors that made the Farmers Day weekend happen. It has always been a highlight of my youth and also my adult life as well. And as we heard from many of our surrounding communities and those from afar as well, they come in to enjoy kind of the Farmers Day atmosphere and what it is to be in a great small town that has all the amenities, well, 95% of the amenities of a large city. So definitely kudos to that. As mentioned by everyone else, these things don't happen by accident. It takes a lot of planning from our staff, a lot of planning from the volunteers to make sure that they're there, and then also the commitment from the community to sponsor these things. It does take and it costs a lot of money to run these programs and events, and I'm glad that there are those organizations that are able to step up and make sure that our community feels that love, feels the happiness, and feels the joy. Because so many happy faces at the breakfast, and had the opportunity to walk around the Midway. The lines, I would guess they're probably 3 hours long for some of those rides. And I'm like, holy cow. Definitely amazing to see the turnout, and look forward to next year's Farmers' Days. Okay, with that, that ends our council discussion. So on our council agenda, we have number 11, which is closed session. So again, within closed session, there will be a motion that moves council into closed session. And all those that are part of closed session will be there, and all those that are not will be asked to leave. And then we will have a conversation, definitely, as you can see from the agenda, this is advocacy priorities, and it's also part of the Access to Information Act, Section 29. Council will not make any motions in closed session except for the motion to come out. And at that time, then any motions that are derived from that will come in public at that point in time. As for our kind of process that we follow, I'll ask for a motion to go in closed session. When that is passed, we'll take about a 15-minute recess so we can get everybody to leave chambers that is not supposed to hear, and then we'll reconvene in about 15 minutes. Okay. So with that, Councilor Palechico, with the motion to go into closed session, please.
Yes, thank you. Your Worship, the Town Council move into closed session at 6:45 p.m. to discuss 11.1 advocacy priorities per ATIA Section 29.
Okay, thank you. And just to everyone know, we're going to take a 15-minute recess before we actually get back. I'll call the question. All in favor? Yeah, that is carried. All right, welcome back. Council has come out of closed session. The motion that was made in closed session was made by Councilor Meyer to come out of closed session, and that was passed unanimously. Members of council, any other comments? Administration, anything arising from the closed session?
Your worship, nothing arising from the closed session.
Okay, well, thank you. With that, we'll move on to number 11 of our agenda, and it's adjournment. So well done, administration, and definitely as a member of this community and member of this council, I enjoyed reading those reports. Definitely looking forward to see how they are integrated into our community so that we do have a little more youth engagement. Our properties are ready to be accepting of all the development that's going to come in so that we have more affordable housing for our community. And all this comes back down to making sure that Stony Plain is affordable, inclusive, and welcoming to everybody. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you.